Sylvan Wood Carving is sponsored by Omni. Today in my shop I'm going to be making a gift for a friend of mine's wedding. It's a American flag cutting board and it's fairly involved. I will be using the Omnitech CNC I have. I call it the Beast because it's really a big and powerful CNC. It has a lot more power in the spindle than I probably need, but it's always nice to have the extra power. The reason I have to use the Omnitech is that my planer is only 13 inches wide, and the CNC allows me to surface arbitrarily wide material with a surfacing bit. So the cutting board's about 18 inches wide, and it's going to be a little more than 30 inches long. And because of that, it's nice to have the CNC to be able to use to surface the oddball large size stuff. This is the over 4 foot by over 8 foot Omnitech CNC I purchased a couple of years ago. It's been a really good CNC so far. I haven't had no complaints about it. It's got a nice 6.5 kilowatt spindle. It's water cooled, and because I live in Arizona, it gets really hot here in the summertime, so it's important to be able to have that water cooled spindle. You can't see it from here because I have a spoil board on it, but it's got a vacuum table, which is very handy when you don't want to damage the materials that you're cutting, and the two very powerful vacuum pumps are on the hidden on the other side of that that gantry that you see right there. The Omnitech also came with a very powerful dust collector, which is very useful given that I only have a 3-car garage, and my garage as a result can get filled up with sawdust really quick, so that's not a very fun mess to clean up. So the vacuum the dust collector helps a lot. What you're looking at right now is a lot of wood on there. I'm getting ready to make some other cutting boards that are going to be very decorative, so they're made up with all sorts of wood. As you look a little bit to the right, you'll see that there are a couple of jewelry box tops there also that I owe a person very near and dear to me, my wife, and I started them and have not finished them yet. So I'm sure that she looks at it and says, "Honey, when are you going to finish them?" So I'm going to do it soon, sweetie. Here you can see the CNC running back and forth, planing the material. The material is made from mahogany and maple, and I've got a 1 1/4 inch Magnate 2704 router bit on it. It really does a nice job surfacing the material. The nice thing about being able to surface something on the CNC, which you might not expect as a normal use case for the CNC, is that once you get everything attached down, you can, and you feel, excuse me, a lot more comfortable with your CNC. You can pretty much start it up, let it go, head elsewhere in the garage, and work on other things. Because I'm recording the video right here by hand, I don't have a good tripod. I was not able to go off and cut some wood on the table saw that I needed to cut. I am trying to be very adherent to the specs on how a U.S. flag is supposed to work, and as it worked out, I'm a couple inches short, so I've got some more material that I'm going to cut, that's off screen you can't see right now. But in any event, you can see that it's very rigorous, it's repeatable, and it doesn't require supervision. And if you're going to yell at anything, if it doesn't work, you can yell at yourself because it's not the CNC's fault. The CNC is very rigorous about doing what you need it to do. Something else that I'd like to add about the CNC is that it's as accurate as you can get. It is as precise as you can get. So where I'm going with this is if you feed wood through the planer and you're not really religious in the way that you go about feeding it, you can wind up with boards that are slightly off. And then you have to take a little bit more material off of them to get them all planed up properly. Whereas with the CNC, you do one side, flip it over on the flat side, do the other side, and you're pretty much golden. The material comes out really nice, and I just have had no complaints about it whatsoever. These are some other things I've made here for the house. When my wife and I first moved in, we moved from a pretty small apartment to a much bigger house, and we kept leaving our stupid keys all over the place. And losing them, so one day I got frustrated and it took me about 20 minutes to take a pine board and drop a key holder, and then my wife was kind enough to paint it. So that was a pretty handy deal. The Of course, no house would be complete without a plaque and decoration that indicated who actually lived there. So I carved this, and then my wife filled in the carving with a resin with a copper coating, and I think it turned out really nice. Very happy with it, and it was very inexpensive. I wish I could claim credit for having designed this object, but this was a simple theft off of the Vectric website. It's a beautiful little mantle clock that they had, and I converted it into a beautiful red oak, and it wound up being a Christmas gift for my wife, and I was very happy with the way it turned out. As it works out, finish is always the secret to having a beautiful piece, and in this case the finish turned out very well.